Hello friends, full stack development is high demand as we all know. But in this full stack development journey, one of the major component is backend API development. If you know the backend API well, you are very closer to a full stack developer. Believe me, this is my experience. Because backend API is the core business logic that will be integrated with front-end applications and lot of downstream and upstream application altogether. So knowing the backend API development is the fundamental requirement to become a full stack developer. So with this background, today I am going to share how to become a backend API developer guy and to eventually become a full stack developer. So what do we need? We need essentially to become a backend developer. Number one is API development framework, right? Number two is you need a middleware tools to connect with the front-end and back-end databases. Third, you need a deployment tools or framework. Fourth, you need a version control. Fifth, you need some testing tools. Seven, you need little bit of documentations. If you know these 5-6 areas in the backend API development, you are good to go. So let me explain one by one each of this area. In the API development pathway, first of all, you should download Spring Boot framework in case of Java, or if you are a Python guy, you should download either a Django or Flask API. Spring Boot is very well known. You can start downloading 3.0 onwards, whatever you want, the latest versions. That will give you to develop your front layer, front controller essentially. And you can develop the Pojo classes, and you can also basically create the different DTO objects, and that DTO you can transform into a JSON objects. So it will give you a complete control to develop the different REST services, and it will help you to develop your API development quicker and faster. So if you are a Java guy, then I think downloading the Spring Boot framework is the key requirement for full backend API development. If you are a Python guy, then either Django or Flask. Django is web framework in Python for enterprise kind of applications. Django, again, it is a lightweight API development framework. As per your requirement, you can download any of them. As soon as you download, it will give you the project structure. It will give you the different inbuilt libraries and inbuilt packages to accelerate your development journey. So first of all, API development is the key requirement. In order to do that, you have to download these two frameworks according to your language. Number one, API development. Once API development is done, the services has been developed, the major part will be connecting with the databases and get some of the dynamic data from the databases, right? Then only your application will be real time. So that you can do it using some of the ORM framework, object relational mapping framework, right? In case of Java, it is Hibernate or JPA, Java Persistent API. You can download it again and work with the Spring framework as part of the library. In case of Python, it is SQLAlchemy, which is an Python library to interact with the database. So first is API development using the Spring Boot or Django or Flask. Second is download this ORM tool that I have talked about. In case of Java, it is Hibernate. In case of Python, it is SQLAlchemy. The third part is deployment part, right? Once you develop the API and also develop the backend connectivity to the database and able to get the data using the middleware tools that I talked about. And last part will be about the deployment part. So deployment, of course, has to be faster. Deployment has to be error-free. Deployment has to be platform agnostic and machine agnostic, isn't it? You cannot compromise something like it work in your local machine and it should not work in your production machines, right? So therefore, nowadays, the new technology has come, which is called Docker. So Docker is eventually a small VM machines, which will help you to download all the libraries, all your Java services they would develop, All our dependencies in one package, one small package, and that will be deployed in a small container, which is nothing but a small virtual machines you can think of. And that container you can deploy it anywhere in the either in production environment or development environment or UAT environment. It will work. There will be no problem at all. So everybody is moving towards Dockerizations of your API development, which is nothing but you have to download the Docker. You have to create all your packages using the Docker libraries. Make sure that all your dependent libraries are in one place, your Java services, and it become a complete small package or modules that you can deploy to different environment through a small container. But when you have a large number of applications, when applications become a e-commerce kind of applications, and many more orchestrations are required, that time you can go ahead again Kubernetes kind of cluster environment, which is nothing but a collection of number of VM machines that you as a developer don't have to do much. It is a deployment strategy, just at a high level, that should be enough, right? So what I have covered till now: API development using Spring Boot or Django and Flask. Second, I have covered leverage basically the middleware tools like Hibernate or Alchemy, SQLAlchemy. Third, I have covered deployment. You should leverage the Docker, and it is irrespective of Python and Java, it works, right? And fourth is basically version control, right? It is very important that you check in your code into the GitHub repository, and other people should download and work in a team environment. So you should be very comfortable with GitHub commands, check in and check out, update, and so on and so forth, right? That is fourth. 5 point is basically you should know how to create a small documentations for APIs, right? What is the input, what will the output response? Because number of pupils are looking forward to your API to integrate into his front-end applications, or it can be internal and outside organization as well, because API is nothing but representation of your business logics. So therefore documentation you must know. And another last important thing is basically the testing. Testing again, Postman is one of the most popular tools. If you know how to test your API, putting the server API URLs, input message, header, and so on and so forth, you are good to go. And probably if you can little bit of check in, check out using Jenkins, you can build using Jenkins tools for continuous integration and continuous development, you are well appreciated backend development persons. So these are the few tools that I have talked about, right? And if you go little advanced, probably if you can, Spring Security is another tools, or 2.0 is another tools to make sure that API is secure enough. But if you again leverage your API deployment into cloud kind of container environment, probably they have always API management tools to make sure that API is secure enough using API keys and client key and client secrets that the cloud environment will create on top of your APIs. So at high levels, backend API development using the framework that I talked about. Then middleware tools. Third is how to deploy your API into a Dockers. Fourth is basically GitHub commands to check in and check out. And then little bit of Postman tools to testing your APIs. And Sogar is the documentation that you should be able to create to expose to the internal and outside the organizations. These are the high level area. If you focus as part of your backend API development, you are almost done. Believe me, my whole career I was a full stack developer. And if you know the full stack developer and little bit of front end, I think you are good to become represented as a full stack developer. So you start consistently focus for 3 months, at least 2 hours in a day, you will eventually become a good backend developer, and that will represent you as a full stack developer. That is my thought. Let me know what you think. Till then, keep learning, keep growing. Bye-bye.